Why do you believe a lot of people are beginning to side with the philosophy of socialism, and where do you see America going if that continues?
Very good question. Thank you. So, why is socialism growing in this country? It's very tempting to be a socialist. It's very tempting to want someone else to pay for something that you might want. Free sounds good until you have to pay for it. If you think it's expensive now, just wait until it's free. There is a reason. It's a very tempting ideology. It sounds very good in practice. We've seen time and time again leaders try to paint society as utopias, that man can be perfected, I think capitalism's work just fine, thank you, that man can be perfected and that government as a central body can then fix the ails of society. I understand it and I sympathize with it. What would happen if America continues to go down this dangerous ideology? Look, we're going to have a country completely unrecognizable and we must fight it at every single turn. And this is where we come in as freedom fighters, where we are not going to allow this country to go the ways of Cuba, of Venezuela, of France, of Spain, and Portugal, or Greece. That we are a country that still, despite our downfalls and despite how we do have too much government here and there, we still believe in the spirit of the individual. We still respect free enterprise, respect private property rights, and we have to continue to fight for that. And so, to answer your question, a very dangerous direction if we go that way.
You said socialism is non-American, so what do you think is pro-American?
Well, let's define what socialism is, right? Socialism is the government confiscation of private property. It tends to be the rule of the few, not the many, even though they profess to say it's the rule of the many. But the American, let's just say, economic tradition is private property rights, markets with proper restraint, entrepreneurship, the ability to flourish, trade, create new products. Socialism disincentivizes almost all those things. Socialism is built largely on envy and greed. And hilariously, the people that push for socialism, the rank and file, they don't realize that socialism actually just creates an oligarchy. It doesn't actually create a strong middle class, what they allege, to want.
So do you believe in taxes?
Ideally 10% across the board. Yeah.
Okay, so you believe in the confiscation of people's private property?
At some point it depends on if it's private property income or if it's necessary to fund government services.
But that's still a confiscation with a gun through police if you don't.
I fully acknowledge a moderate form of something I hate in order to fund a government, police, firefighters, EMT is necessary.
But that's still government confiscating private property, which you said was socialism.
Yes, but have you ever called the cops?
No, I don't believe.
Okay,
I don't like cops. They don't like me.
Okay, you ever gone to hospital?
No.
Okay, well, one day when you go to hospital or you use the social service you paid for.
I'm saying you define socialism as a confiscation of private property, and you're saying that you believe in taxes, which is a confiscation of private wages.
Let me go for the unreasonable confiscation of private property, the elimination of private property altogether. You see, this is very sloppy intellectual thinking, that just because we want a police force, a border patrol, and we want clean streets, all of a sudden we become a socialist.
But those are still socialism.
Not every form of government is socialism. Would you acknowledge that?
No, I don't.
Okay, then
when does socialism begin and when does it end? And I'm saying you're saying that some level of socialism.
It's not like an entrance into Narnia.
If you're
like
saying
I'm all of a sudden
socialism is
here.
anti-American, I'm saying
it's a
socialism
spectrum.
is a part of America.
Okay, so you want to know when socialism begins and
Yeah.
when it ends?
Yeah.
When you leave the free state of Florida and you enter the unfree state of New
What's
York.
the tax rate in Florida then?
Zero.
No,
the income tax in Florida is zero.
But you still have to pay federal taxes. So if you have to pay taxes at all, it sounds like Florida's a socialist state.
So are you trying to say America's currently socialist?
Yes. That's
okay,
what I'm saying.
I would agree. We're going more in that direction. So.
Okay, but you just said that America is socialist, but you said Florida's not socialist. So Florida's part of America. That doesn't make sense.
Oh, but the federal project right now is more socialist than it is free market. Yeah. So to be even more clear, the closer you get towards the government owning a majority of your labor and your goods, the further and further closer you get to socialism. California is that.
Yeah.
Now, I would love for the federal government to get rid of FICA tax, to get rid of, the excess income tax. I've been clear. I think 10% across the board, fine. We need a military. You might not agree. We need a police force. We need a border patrol. We need basic social services that are a safety net, not a hammock. But I do not believe in this over-the-top type taxation. If you want to talk about other types of taxation that everyone here is paying, it's inflation. How are you?
Hello.
Nice to see you. What's your name?
I'm Davion. I frequent the table a lot.
Oh, cool. Good.
So I was in history class, and I learned about the whole socialism thing. I saw the figures of the numbers of the people dying when, Stalin was up and everything. And I heard some things, and I made the point I decided to come over and ask.
Sure.
So one of my big questions is, if someone who wasn't crazy, because we know Stalin was crazy, Lenin was crazy, everybody else is crazy. if someone who wasn't crazy did socialism, would it still end up bad?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right, how so?
Every time it's been tried, it has failed. And it depends what you mean by crazy, but even in the most innocent implementations of socialism, with quote-unquote benevolent leaders, it falls apart. I mean, I would also make the argument first that socialism lends itself to people that want to assume power really quickly, right? So, like Hugo Chavez, Nicolas Maduro, Venezuela, Fidel Castro in Cuba, Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe. These are like really bad people, right? So socialism creates the power framework for really bad people to do really bad things really quickly. So since government controls so much, all it takes is for one person to control the government, therefore one person controls everything. You know what I'm saying? So what our argument is how do we prevent that sort of tyranny from happening while also having a functioning civil society, right? Because we don't want anarchy, that's not what I'm saying. Like I was just saying, I do believe in some form of taxes. I'm not saying get rid of all taxes, but we're way past, I think, the point of reasonable, government, interference. But there have been examples where socialism was tried with people that had the best intentions, and it's fallen apart. So, I mean, you even look today in Spain, they've implemented a lot of socialist policies. Spain is a mess. Portugal's a mess. Greece is a mess. France is a mess, for example. France is a quasi-socialist country, right? I wouldn't say Emmanuel Macron is a dictator.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because here's the problem with socialism, is that the incentives of a socialist country is to take as much as you can from the people to try to provide services. Well, eventually wealth has to be created somewhere. Eventually you have to extract wealth or else it runs out. But it's a very thoughtful question. It's a very thoughtful question.
Yeah, and to add on to that, another thing I learned in that class, like directly after hearing that, normally right after socialism and communism comes fascism. Directly after.
And isn't that funny how that works, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Thank you for the answer.
Thank you. Davion, right?
Yep.
Appreciate it.